All right. Welcome in. This is Brendan Allen from Comic-Con.com. Oh, I can't even say Comic-Con. That was weird. Comic-Con.com, senior editor over there. Joining me today should be Mr. Steve Johnston, toy expert from.
He's tapping into his delusions of grandeur. He'll be here.
But we were just talking about baseball, and he had to go get something. I wonder if it's like, if he's going to show us a home run ball that he hit out of Scottsdale Stadium, because that was the conversation before we started here. But it is opening day in real time. So the Giants get to beat the Yankees tonight on national television. That's fun. Looking forward to that a lot.
Speaking of delusions of grandeur, we're seeing it in full form right here. But absolutely,
the Giants looked so hot this year in spring training. They were cohesive. Their young kids were performing. It's just one of those. It's feeling a lot like 2010, man.
Oh man, I love it. I love the optimism, and I love the idea that you have, or not the idea, the concept of these two teams playing on a primetime opening, Netflix type of matchup. Steve looks like he's absolutely just frothing at the mouth, though. So before we,
I just love that it's stateside.
It's hardware. Of course, it's hardware. I like
because if they were doing the opening day in like the UK or Japan or whatever, that screws up your whole like first month of the season.
100%.
Because you're readjusting back to real time. Dude, your background 100%. Is like Squirtle, making your bling look like cartoon.
DJ Squirtle or Pikachu, whoever it is. So basically, for quick context, we were right before we came on. It actually would have made Patreon gold, so we were actually giving Erik a good ribbing about it, but we don't have any concept, so we'll fill you in. We're basically tapping into whether or not Steve is one of the few delusional, not even few, the many delusional people.
Legit.
Actually, Brendan, fill us in.
Anybody can hit 90 miles an hour. Anybody can hit 100. If you're consistently being fed 100 miles an hour, you get trained to it. So if there was a promotion that we were talking about when Petco Park first opened, that if you hit a home run over the wall on one pitch from a pitching machine, then you got season tickets for the season or something like that. They were giving away a cool prize.
Sorry.
But the thing is that it's one pitch. You get one look, and you've never seen that park before, and so it's a big challenge. And Steve said, "Well, I've hit it out of Scottsdale Stadium and stuff," and that is, I believe that 100% because
Well, this is, let me clarify, because I deal with this all the time, literally working at sports media and dealing with delusional fans. I believe fully that Steve can do exactly that. A lot of people get it twisted when they say, major league pitching or major league fastball. It means in a major league game, could you step up at the plate and get on base against a legit stud? It doesn't have to be like a Cy Young.
And the joke is
like a legit ace, a legit major league ace. Can you get on base? That is the ultimate question.
When you watch, was it Major League? Is that the one with the Indians and the right?
Yeah.
When you watch that, and the dude is up there, the Joe Boo guy, and he's cranking them out, and they go, "Wow, this kid's fantastic. How come he's not in the bigs?" And he goes, "Throw him a changeup."
Right.
And he throws the curve, and he's whiffing through it. And that's the difference is anybody can hit 100 if you're trained to hit 100. The difference is having the eye and the preparation to know the difference between the arm slot for a curveball versus a fastball, and then being prepared to knock it out. Either.
And you want to talk about margins? That's literally the margin between, all-star and just a good player, a silver slugger and just a good hit, a good batter, a generational player and just a currently good player. Those are the exact margins in baseball that define it. But Steve, we got to give you at least a moment to tap into the glory days. Explain what the championship hardware, or at least where it's rooted to. Is it like seasons of the past, like deep past? Was it recent?
No, it's all been a little while now. I'm a little bit older. There was a period of time where I would go and play in the men's World Series tournaments every year in Arizona, which started soon after my cup of coffee with Pro Ball. And one thing I'll say that you guys were mentioning really quick was my first day in short season A-ball. We had a pitcher and catchers meeting because we were ported early, and I was a catcher. So got there a couple days before all the position players. You walk in, all the pitchers and everything are there, and the head of minor league pitching instructions is in there. And he looks around the room, room's quiet, and he goes, "Look, all of you guys in here throw hard. I'm not impressed." And we just kind of sitting there, and he goes, "We're here for two things. We're here to teach guys how to hit sliders, and we're here to show you how to throw them." And that was just the honest, and I kid you not, that's exactly what everything was built off of.
That's what they need.
Stuff. It had nothing to do with, in my first day out, the guy that I caught the very first day, his name was Brad Blumenstock, and he went to a small Texas college. He was like 6'8", 6'9", big, just country boy, right? And they're like, "Yeah, he throws hard." And the first pitch he threw me, it hits the heel of my glove, just bam. And I'm like, wow, that got my attention, right? I had seen that, but I hadn't seen it like that. Like when it came out of hand, it was And so I'm sitting there.
Different
Time. The guy bounced almost every fastball he threw up there. So at the end of the day, I went home and I had, not home, but back to the locker room. I had bruises up my arms right here on both sides. And I had to take an ice bath for my very first day in pro ball. I got the absolute snot kicked out of me.
I bet.
The only thing worse than catching somebody who throws fire like that is catching a knuckleballer, man, because you're going to get bruises everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Well, he comes by, and it's so funny. The head of minor league pitching instruction, I'm sitting in the ice tub. I'll never forget this. Just my head exposed. I'm freezing. He walks by the trainer room. He looks in, and he goes, Johnston. And I go, yeah. And he goes, slider's going to be real hard. And I go, we'll get there. And he goes, you will. He goes, just so you know, Brad was known notoriously for having lack of command and control, but he does consistently throw 100 plus. What's I was like, what?
Well, that's like the Bull. Speaking of great movie scenes, that's like Bull Durham, right? Tim Robbins. He could potentially kill Kevin Costner if he wanted to, but he's drunk. He can't even connect from 5 yards out.
Wait, hold up. I think we're forgetting one of the greatest wild pitchers of all time, Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn. But
I mean,
Oh, look, there's
Charlie Sheen at his heyday.
All right, so now that we bored the shit out of Eric for 10 minutes here, Eric.
No.
Steve, go ahead, Steve.
Just to preface this all, so this one was from. This has the years on. Let's see. I can't see. My eyes are bad. I don't know. Anyways, the Las Vegas Bears, Team Las Vegas. So this was the Bears, Team Las Vegas, and the Bears were essentially the same team. They just kind of morphed. I think I got this one the year Brody was born. That I won this one. So I actually had his name put on the ring, which was really cool. But this one was real fun. So this was the two-time we went back-to-back with Chicago Seminoles. This is more like an all-star team. This was a 25 and over division, and it was open to no ex-pro.
You are well over 25 at this point, sir.
Yeah, I know. But the cool thing was that this had no ex-pro restrictions. So that meant anybody who
could come and play,
played pro ball at any level could play. So there was a lot of independent guys, but that particular year we faced Randy Johnson, who pitched for a Seattle team.
You want to talk about heat?
And it was funny because I felt like my first at bat against him, I hit left-handed. My first at bat against him, he busted me inside pretty good, but I was like, he's not going to try to live there. He doesn't know me. Like, that's just what I thought. And so I just sat on that slider that he throws. And the next pitch, he threw me a slider down and away, and I hit it past the shortstop. And you could just tell, like, that was not okay with him. Like, he was not okay with that whatsoever. But, because he had no respect for me. He had no reason to, right? It's a Hall of Famer.
So he keyholed you inside and then went to the outside corner and expected you not to swing?
Threw the slider away. I hit that. So my next at bat up there, he throws two sliders off my hip. He's 1-1, and then tries to throw the fastball away, and I hit it up the middle, and for another single. And I got to first, and he looked over, and he goes, "That's it." That's all he said to me.
Well, I find it funny how it's a pitcher literally of that era, not only known for his stuff, known for his intimidation.
Yeah.
And you're here, playing games. But, again, it goes to show it's just levels.
And the next at bat that I faced him, right? I got two fastballs up and in, two absolute nasty fastballs in the outside corner, and he threw a changeup that looked like it started at my hip, and it was in the dirt in the other batter's box.
And there it is. And
this is why when we talk about people having the confidence, right? That the people who sit on the couches and think they could win a fight against a bear.
Yeah,
I was waiting.
Next at bat,
I was waiting for that.
He busted me in and broke my bat, and I popped up to third base.
Yeah,
but it was pretty fun. Again,
that was inevitably coming.
It's a good 7-10 years after his career, so it's not anything of the stuff that he had. He was probably sitting in the high 80s, low 90s, right? But
if you guys come out to Unrivaled in a few weeks in Vegas, we're going to have this pitcher on stage to talk about this encounter with Steve, and we'll run the video footage.
Yes,
that would be funny.
We'll get him. We'll get him. Love it. We'll get him.
That's what these are from, and I was lucky enough to play with teams that were really good. although all these were championship rings and all these felt earned and all of these were great and we had a good time and all this stuff, the very first year I went, it was 300 teams in an open division.
Wow.
And that's what it was. That's what your tournament was. Well, we ended up 16th out of those 300 teams. And I just felt like that was the best team I played on ever out in Arizona.
All right.
And we finished 16th in the tournament, right?
Memory lane.
300 teams in one division. Like that was
memory lane.
Nice. Hey, I used to could hit baseballs too, but now I'm old and fat. So.
Now we talk.
Now we talk about baseball. We watch baseball.
Yeah.
So my kid also, like, he's getting really, really good at like gifting gifts or whatever. He sent me the money to pay for my my extra innings subscription this year, so I can watch the Giants in Southern California. So my kid at 26 years old just bought me the best present he's ever bought me. So Tyler, hey, I love you, bud.
I love the fact that you accredit him for giving you the best gift that you've ever gotten, and it's a losing gift. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those things that.
Well, the whole conversation essentially started with us calling him delusional about the Giants anyway. So it's fitting we kind of.
Hey, how did my standings board that I sent you guys? I don't know, in the middle of spring training last year. How accurate did that end up being by the end of the season?
Well, didn't you say on the stage when we were talking about it at the 2025 diecast that the Dodgers were just going to be like, a fringe team? Yeah, and how did that work out? And when Steve and I looked at you like they're going to be a bit more of a fringe team.
That's not what I said. We have video. That's not what I said.
We have to ask the Go Live Vegas people to pull that one up.
I'd like a really quick call since we're talking statistics.
It may have even been off air. Either way,
would be Brendan correcting Brett. So there's one correction already today.
Yeah, but
but then
again, I could fire back and say, yes, you did, because Steve and I looked at you and said you were a fool if you think the Dodgers are.
No, I said they didn't make any moves. I said they didn't make any moves in the offseason, and he corrected me that they made one big move. And that move came in. That move came in on the ticker that morning.
They brought in Roki Sakai literally like a day before.
Right? No. That came in on the news the day of we had that panel, and I hadn't seen it yet. That was the thing that I did have wrong. Is that
would be like the statement
but
that
the point
you made
is,
this morning by saying
you still said it.
He made the statement this morning saying that Paul Vato not being here, right, doesn't affect the podcast. And I mean, look, let's just be honest. It made it better. Like,
I told Paul that he should call in anyway and have a little blank screen at the bottom there, have his little hedge Vato up the entire time. Like, we muted him.
Hey, let's play a game.
How about this? Eric? Literally next, because I know we'll be on a little bit of a hiatus, right, for a while. But after we get back in like mid-April or whatever it is, we should make our official picks. Obviously, baseball will be underway, but it'll be early enough in the season where we could still make our way to early predictions. And let's go division by division, and let's see how we stack up by the All-Star break.
Way too early. All right?
That's what makes it good.
I want you to pick what two teams are going to play in the World Series this year.
Oh.
Right now, no looking it up.
Just Eric.
He doesn't even know American League versus National League.
Listen, this is Eric's time, not Brendan's. This is Eric's time. Eric, you're up.
Brazil.
Because I don't know divisions, I'm just going to pick the two teams that popped into my head. And if it's impossible, it's impossible. Orioles and Tigers.
Those are both American League, aren't they?
Yes, they're both American League.
Okay, so pick one.
One of them's a good guess.
One of them actually is a decent guess. Yeah.
And look, Baltimore's not horrible. It's just they're not on the back end. Their rotation's going to struggle. Right,
but they're not immediate contention.
Okay, Tigers,
they
Dodgers.
Can hit.
That's a guess. That's a crazy guess, but that's a guess.
Yeah, that's possible. The guy that picked it right every year, for like the last 3 or 4 years, I guess.
Wasn't a Clam?
He has Mets.
Mets.
Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
I mean, Mets
Mariners. He has Mets Mariners.
Right. I saw that.
I'm bullish on the Mariners. The two teams that played last year in the divisional round were between Detroit and Seattle. There's something about it. I feel like one of those two teams could potentially go. But Mets Mariners. I mean, the Mets on paper are.
Do the Tigers have a pennant?
Long time. Yeah.
Well, yeah. If you want to look it up, because it was against my Padres.
Brendan.
Thanks, guy.
Hold on. This is a great moment. Brendan, some Giant fan. Your team beat the Tigers in a World Series, brother.
Were they in California? Because they weren't.
But it was in 2012, and it happened. So yes, they have a pennant because your favorite team beat them. 2012.
Oh yeah, against the Tigers. You're right. I have that on video.
Give me my lower third, Erik.
Oh, right.
I had that hanging here last week.
Baby.
That right there was the best.
Yeah.
Wait, but wasn't that a sweep? Like that wasn't even a good series.
Brendan, we have to stop.
I'm not saying
Brendan,
it wasn't.
you're
The
done.
Giants.
Can you mute Brendan's mic?
The Giants
That's a
kicked
mic
their
drop
ass,
by Brett.
bro. You wax poetic the whole opening segment how big of a Giants fan you are. You don't even remember they beat in the World Series. That kind of shows how dominant they were, though. Hold on, I bet I could get it. It's
it was Giants in 5. That was a really sorry series.
Texas, Detroit, Kansas City. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are we going to talk about Hobbitses in the first segment? Because this is actually
but I'm relishing Brett's walk off that he just
that's all right. That's all right.
Dude, and you know what?
Yeah, he'll get me.
Keeps solidifying the killer thing because here he is doing the dance.
Yeah, right.
After he
as like
executed.
victims. This is how I'm strutting on the victims in these little tubs and all that.
It's funny.
But I love it.
I know we've talked a lot about this.
Godzilla
We've had a lot
King
going
Kong
on. I was gone off the podcast for a few weeks there. Obviously, my production behind the Diecast Super Convention and everything. I know you guys were involved, but for me, the event started on Sunday. It went till Monday. And the reason it goes till Monday is because we still have all the loadout and all that stuff. And even as of yesterday, we were back meeting with facilities, tightening up deals, getting things done that move us forward into the following year show. And the one thing that I want to say, because I know you guys have talked about it, I know you guys have had discussions about it a little bit, but my thing that I wanted to say was this year, the feel was just so much bigger. It felt so much more grand. It had more like oomph to it. You could feel the manufacturers were there. You could tell. And it was funny because this is the first time that I recall manufacturers coming to me, like just leading up to the show and being like, why does Jada get an hour on the stage and why do we only get 30 minutes? Like they were all dying to present more and be more involved in everything. And so that was cool. And so one of the takeaways from a meeting that we had last night is that for the 27 show, our activations will be moving to its own stage and platform. And we will be doing more presentations, interview style shows for that event on the main stage, giving more of a focus to that. And I think that goes to bode really, that's a strong takeaway from the event because your involvement from those manufacturers is so big. And so I just wanted to point that out because I actually want to tip a cap to the manufacturers because I felt like they really stepped it up this year. They really came in with a game plan. A lot of them that, normally hadn't been involved, the Japanese and international Asian market manufacturers that came over from Japan and China and Malaysia and Singapore and all the different countries, that in its own like really made this year feel special. Obviously, Brett, Brendan, you guys were involved with that and got to firsthand see things. But one other thing that I wanted to mention, because I think it's remiss to do, is that sometimes I don't give credit, especially publicly, where credit should be due. And when we did the Hall of Honor on Saturday night, Brett Lawson, that was the best version of Brett Lawson I had seen. It was incredibly done well. You kept a really good flow. And I need to take a second step to this and say, Brendan wasn't supposed to be involved with the production of that.
Boy, did he
actually played an integral part in keeping the best Brett Lawson up there. So as much as we like to beat up Brendan and give him a hard time and everything, Brendan, your support for Brett during that, which look, when you're a stage host, sometimes it's a little tough to get in on the production of someone else's stuff because you're just thinking about whatever else the next thing is, right? And to be able to do that, for you guys to pull that off, to execute it, and Brett, for you to have the show that you did.
Thank you, sir.
I thought that really pulled things together because I felt like in years prior, it became a moment where there was always like hiccups, mistakes, large things that really impacted the feel of the end of the show, right? Like you kind of don't want to close out on a downer, you know what I mean? And I felt like that had happened. And this year, you guys really, really delivered. Brett, again, that was the
Thanks,
best
buddy.
Brett Lawson I had seen. I want to make sure that is said and people understand it. You
It's
guys
an
are
honor.
both truly professionals, and that's that's it.
And Brendan is like the ultimate, to use a sports term. Steve, you may have used it in baseball culture. It's a huge staple in football culture. It's called the glue guy. And that's literally what Brendan is. Like, I mean, the best way possible, because it may have been the smallest little minute detail on a text message, but that one little detail, like Steve said, how you would go out on a bang instead of a whimper, those details that he would come up, whisper in my ear when he had a minute, to text me in a minute, those allowed that smooth outro to happen where we went off riding into the sunset happy. So
it would have been really great if he had a teleprompter up there that I could just type on instead of going on stage 16 times. But
I knew he was going to say this again. Look at Steve. He's
I'm looking right now on Amazon.
Can we add a new thing? That's not a correction count. I actually think that we need
Brendan pisses on all of us.
Brendan, right? Brendan bitches without bitching count, right? Because that's a true thing, right?
Bitching without
Brendan
moaning.
actually just bitches about something. He's
Bitching
actually
without
bitching
moaning.
about it, but he just presents it well enough to where it doesn't look like he's bitching, but we all know he's bitching.
We could call it like bitching without moaning. It doesn't sound
bitches
like
without pitches. I like that.
That's
it's great.
good too.
It's a nice little baseball reference.
To tie the baseball combo.
Yeah, he's the guy in the dugout that's complaining about the
funny.
strike zone, but he doesn't pitch until Thursday.
That's
like,
funny.
he's that guy.
MLB, the show 2K26 came out. Let's talk about that in the second segment.
Or Patreon. Let's continue baseball talk on Patreon. You just brought up a subject that's actually pretty dope in the new game.
So something that I think that we, kind of got into, and this was a little bit of, I don't want to call it a debate, because if I call it a debate with Brendan, there's like 37 corrections. Like, you didn't capitalize the B at the beginning of your sentence when you wrote that. Like, it doesn't matter. That's what will happen. But apparently he seems to think that every single toy manufacturer out there is making toys for him.
Yeah,
and making items to his likeness and following a game plan that he thinks.
Wait, let me set this up because this is actually
tee it up there, pal. We're all for it. After
I got this email from Dark Horse Direct.
Make it soft and easy for yourself.
Who made a fantastic Hobbit figure 6 months ago, and we have a picture of that. This is Bilbo from the 1977 film, and this is where I was mistaken. And here's the thing: to get information on the internet, the fastest way to get the correct information is being confidently wrong. Because people will come and they'll correct you and they'll bring receipts. If you ask a question, they'll like all kinds of shit talkers and shit posts and trolls and whatever. But I was like, dude, why doesn't this match? And then here's the next one. This one came out this morning. And I was like, this is so wrong. Those don't look like Hobbitses. The feet are wrong. The stature's wrong. Everything's wrong. It's two different films. But so people came and they're like, well, actually, that's the 1978 film. And the other one's the 1977 film. And I looked and they're correct. And I got that information very gently from some friends. And this is one of the reasons why I like Blue Sky better than Twitter, too, because Twitter would have torn me apart. But Blue Sky people were like, well, hey, did you look at this? And I'm like, oh, shit, you're right. But here's the thing. Why didn't these two films follow the same style guide? Because I'm so used to the other image. Then I see this and I'm like, well, that's Temu Hobbitses. Those aren't real Hobbitses.
It's because The Hobbit was made by Rankin Bass and this was made by Ralph Bakshi.
Correct.
Completely different, creative. Okay,
right.
Yeah. For the sake of our audience, just wanted to fill.
But when something lives in
different productions,
the zeitgeist of pop culture, and it's out there, because iconically that musical Hobbit movie with all the weird songs and all the just strange imagery and stuff is what lives in people's head. And then when you follow that immediately up, you would think that there's a little bit more of a tie between the two properties, as like, okay, make them shorter because they're supposed to be shorter. These just look like kids. They don't look like adults who are short in stature, and that's the problem that I have. But I was wrong and I got corrected and people were right and they brought receipts and I was like, well, no shit. And that's one of the things that I love about the internet is you can be confidently wrong and people are going to bring you the right information. Whereas if you ask a question, it's crickets.
So what I would like to do in this moment, because I think this is very paramount to this conversation, is to point out that my friend Brendan, he sends me a message this morning in regards to this, in which I tell him the first thing that I respond with is, it's because they're from a film or a show. Okay. And I gave him the answer to what he then chose to go down the rabbit hole to research, to then come on here, not tell me, but
do you not understand how my brain works at this point? We've known each other how many years now?
Okay, comes on here and then decides to say, I went and researched, I went and did this work, I went to find this out. No, let's be honest. He went on Reddit and said, hey, someone told me this was from a show.
What's Reddit?
I don't believe him. And they went, no, it is. And then he sat there for like 45 minutes trying to figure how he can respin this.
Steve.
And you know what? It was done very, very, very masterfully. That was impressive. Had I not stepped on this right now and informed everybody that you, in fact, sometimes are full of shit.
Yes.
This exact moment would not have happened had I not done that. So well done. Very well played. What we would like to call this as is today, Brett's pawn knocked off your queen, and I'm going to tell you checkmate.
Ooh, what? Brett wasn't even involved in the conversation.
Oh, no. Brett already got you earlier in this.
Tigers.
You are 0 for 2 right now, guy, on my way to a golden sombrero.
Yeah. The best thing about that is that, like, because he literally is the biggest Giant fan I know. So you think, like, I literally remember the lineups of the Patriots teams and the teams that the Yankees beat in the 90s.
Let me tell you something, brother.
I remember those lineups. You think you remember that. That's
I remember the Giants lineups. But let me tell you something, Brett. And this is in all honesty. Yeah. About half the time when I'm sending out emails, I can't remember your damn name.
That's fair.
I don't know what to tell you.
I think you slipped up on a couple of times.
He told me that you were easy to forget too.
Well, but we already know that.
Okay. I mean, but like that's what he said. I'm just going by what he told me.
Well, it's all good. He literally is going to try to have his cake and eat it too. You just analyzed it, Steve. Like everything Steve just said could be summed up in the age-old freaking adage. Have your cake and eat it too. Brennan's trying to do that. But
what good is cake if you can't eat it?
Because Steve,
you just want to look at the cake. You want to smell the cake. What's the point of having cake?
I think what we need to do
let them have cake.
Is go to a break. And when we come back from the break, we are going to discuss Jada Toys and Star Wars, amongst some other things. But right now, this is going to be Brett and I mic dropping into the break on the C3 pod.
Peppermint Patty's the worst. Comic-Con.com, your daily comic convention online. Insightful reviews of the comics, toys, and games you need to know. Delightful chats with luminaries from around the geek spectrum. In print, on video, and everywhere in between. The show never stops on Comic-Con.com.
Welcome back to the C3 Pod. This portion of the podcast is presented by our friends at Hobby Lava. Make sure you stop by hobbylava.com. Pick up yourself a lava pack. Take a shot at a mystery pack. I saw them toying around with a Star Wars mystery pack coming out soon. They have things like Bo Jackson's Battle Arena, One Piece, Pokemon, and more. So make sure you stop by hobbylava.com. Check them out. Pick up something fun. You can subscribe monthly, get a cool mystery pack each and every month delivered right to your door, and have fun collecting cards. We're going to talk about Jada Toys. First off, the Jada Toys team is incredible, and they have really stepped up their other toy side. See, for years, Jada's been known as the car guys, right? They've been known with the dub, back in the day, all the way through the current lines. They have the license for Fast and the Furious. They just introduced some fun versions of the Fast and Furious cars in different scales. But they have a whole action figure side and other type toy that is really cool. And what's starting to become really popular again in the world of toys is like your remote radio controlled concepts and items. We saw one of the manufacturers of the Diecast Super Convention pushing out some small scaled radio controlled stuff.
1/64th radio control was dope. That's a crazy car.
Unbelievable, right? How cool that is. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes. But Jada's got an item that got Brendan's attention. So Brendan, go ahead and tell us about the AT-AT from Star Wars.
So this is a Jada walking AT-AT, and it comes with a remote control. This is an RC Imperial Remnant AT-AT. So it's inspired by the Mandalorian era. It's 13 inches tall, so not quite as tall as... Who made the one in 1981?
Hasbro.
That's going to be
Kenner. Right. So the Kenner one was like 2 feet tall, but the Kenner one fell over all the time. It was off balance. This is a much better scale, 13 inches. It's got 4-legged walking action. It's got LED lights, sound effects, moving head, and laser cannon. So it does a little back and forth thing with the laser cannons. It says, throughout the galaxy, the Imperial Remnant is a leftover faction of the Fallen Empire. So their vehicles are often older, modified, or less advanced versions of the originals. So it's got some weathering on it. You can see some of the paint there. It looks like rust. The motorized 4-legged walking system faithfully mimics the slow, heavy march of the AT-AT Jada Toys, Okay, so pre-orders are available now for $90, $89.99, and they're expecting this one in March. So this month, this is supposed to be out. It's got a cool little storage space on the side there for the remote control, which actually mimics where the door is on the side of the AT-AT in the film. This is just a really great. I remember the one back in the 80s, and the thing would fall over all the time. It was a pain in the ass, but it feels like they took all of the issues with the older version and made it better and made it like non-issue with this smaller version, lower to the ground, lower center of gravity, and with the remote control, because the other one just moved forward. If it ran into something, it would just hit it and fall over. This one, you can actually go left and right, forward and backward. I think this is really cool.
So the most recently, and this was probably 7-8 years ago, Hasbro had one that was a full-size AT-AT for the 3 3/4 inch scale. It was actually a Nerf AT-AT.
Oh, that's fun.
And I want to say it was maybe based off of, I don't know, it was off of the Second Wave trilogy. But that AT-AT in particular had a programmable feature that you could program it to take, 2 steps forward, turn the head right, 2 steps left, turn the head left, fire the missiles. It would shoot the darts and go. It's actually become one of the more rare versions because it was so expensive at retail. That was crazy. And again, that was about twice the size of this one, and it had Nerf involved. So when you start adding multiple licenses and all this stuff, things start getting more expensive. But still, that thing retailed almost $300. Like it was, and so to see that there's a fun, that unfortunately what will happen with this, the radio controlled line for some reason, or a remote control line in the Star Wars stuff, just never really gets like full head of steam.
Okay, that was going to be my question for you.
That's my concern with this particular item, is that as cool as it is, as novelty as it is, I just don't know that this really impacts kids, and it doesn't hold a high collector value. So it's kind of an in-between type item. If it was scaled at the 3 3/4 inch, which unfortunately they can't because Hasbro owns that license with Lucasfilm, right? Then I think it would be a much bigger component. And don't get me wrong, I love what Jada's doing, and I actually think the way they did this is really nice. And then 2, Jada is staying consistent with the Star Wars packaging style that really has come through Lucasfilm.
Yes.
Keeping it going.
Yes.
This will have some impact early on. It will be one of those products that'll be on. This is built around the movie that's coming out.
And that's what I was going to kind of bring up,
Grogu,
because
right?
Mandalorian and Grogu is going to have a lot of stuff that's post Return of the Jedi, just like anything with the Mandalorian has, right? The Imperial Remnant. Because of that, you could tie in a lot of nostalgia toys, right? Not necessarily prequel and sequel trilogy type toys, original trilogy, 1980s Kenner type toys. You could kind of resemble the look, Steve. What do you think will be the most, in your like professional opinion, will be the most successful way to go? Because I was going to ask you if the RC was a way to go with the nostalgia element, just like you have with the old Imperial aspect. But at the same time, if the RC kind of always fizzles out with Star Wars, what method's going to work, do you think?
Well, right now, kids aren't playing with toys. Like, that's the problem, right? Kids aren't playing with toys like they once did. So you're looking for this hybrid appeal where you can stay within the realm that's affordable to families to be able to buy stuff like this for their kids and have that collector value, right? They're constantly playing with that, what's the right area? What's the right set in the market. The problem that we have is that these brands were doing before COVID, this is just my opinion, were doing such a great job in pushing out content ahead of other people getting the content. Whereas now after COVID, people are getting the content and then sharing it, but it's not coming from origin source. So it doesn't have that same impact, right? If this came across as a promotional video and you had one of the current Star Wars visible actors, a Daisy Ridley, Isaac, just because he's, played in multiple things.
Oscar Isaac,
right? People like that are like visible to the current, right? The current kind of up and coming, potential collector market, still a kid, kind of novelty. If they had him playing with this and talking about it and stuff, it would have impact on those kids, and it would be that type thing.
Or
you know what?
Honestly, this stuff is all marketing.
Right. As you're talking, I realized that if they had put in a 2-inch little model of the pram, even closed, from Grogu, and put it in there as an accessory, this would probably sell more.
Probably.
Also, because I did see the sequence from Mandalorian and Grogu that features the AT-AT.
Right.
Like, that sequence, they showed it at Star Wars Celebration last year. It's pretty rad.
Really?
Like, I don't know if the rest of the movie's going to be cool, but I know the sequence that features this damn thing is pretty cool.
So maybe this is just
one of the most impactful movements from arguably the best of the Star Wars movies in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Which is Luke tethering the
right.
Yeah.
AT-AT and tying it up and knocking it down.
I love that we're all saying
Harpoons-
AT-AT too, because
Harpoons
before
and tow cables.
before the trilogies came out and they came out with ATSTs and all that stuff, we called them AT-ATs, right? But now that the initials stand for things and they're all different things or whatever, now it's ATST, AT-AT, and I'm like, no, it's AT-AT.
Yeah. There was a long running debate about that of like what's actually canon.
But
what
you know
Lucas
what the thing
intended to
is
be
that
canon.
in military culture, not anagrams, what is it called when they have the initials?
Acronyms.
Yeah. Acronyms are, so people think Humvee is HUMVEE. It's not. It's HMMWV. And we said Humvee because if you say it fast, because it's high mobility, multi-use wheeled vehicle.
Right.
And that's the thing, is it all stands for something, but we would say the word, and you can say cut V for the truck. It was just a pickup truck. It was a cut V. And that's the thing, is that they all stand for something. And if it can make something that sounds like a word, we called it a word. So you could have an ATST and an AT-AT in the same universe, in the same motor pool, and they would be called that because it's easier to say than AT-AT.
Well, it's like Eric knows this. If you go like into the Clone Wars like mythology, it's not ARC Trooper, it's ARC Trooper, Advanced Reconnaissance Commando. But you say ARC Trooper because, like Brendan said, the military component, and it just sounds way more badass. Let's be real.
Well, and Jeep wasn't
JEEP.
Jeep was GP for general purpose, and people were saying it so fast that it just became Jeep.
Right.
When you go and you look at it from a standpoint of kind of how products are delivered, you'll have in G.I. Joe. That's where I feel like this conversation probably resides more, because you'll have like the HISS tank, but it'll be hit H.I. or H period I period S period S period, right, to indicate that it has meaning to that, that vehicle. Whereas in the Star Wars world, it was never done with the periods to break up the actual, intended words. So from that standpoint, and look, I think that might have been a little bit of the genius that came from Lucas during the time of leaving speculative conversation in regards to what things would be, what characters, originalities, nationalities, whatever it would be, where they were from.
It's what allows Disney. Yes,
right?
It allows Disney to do literally what they're doing and fill in all the blanks, because Lucas could only do so much. Right.
Yeah. So I think that's a little bit of the novelty of it. What were you saying, Eric?
Oh, right. I mean, there's a specific reason why our generation calls this thing an AT-AT versus an AT-AT. There actually is an answer. The answer, so I'm friendly with a guy who was a publicity person at Lucasfilm at the time Empire came out, and he told me that was Kenner's choice because we never named it. We just called it a walker. That Kenner decided when they put the ad out to call it an AT-AT.
Call me crazy, but isn't Kenner or advertising or marketing? No, never mind. I take it back. I was going to say, isn't that how Boba Fett's name was first uttered? But I remember Boba Fett appeared in an animated segment in the holiday special, and that's where his name was first uttered. Because Boba Fett's name is not uttered once in The Empire Strikes Back, and it's only said jokingly in Return of the Jedi during the whole, the fight on the barge. So, yeah.
And I'm resisting the urge to quote that moment from Return of the Jedi, because that's usually what I do when someone says Boba Fett.
Right, because that's pretty exactly.
Although, I mean,
Boba Fett,
I'm going to be honest with you guys, that 6 months precluding that holiday special, there was an appearance at a of Boba Fett at a parade in which Boba Fett was identified, because people were like, what is that character?
Steve correction count.
That's Boba Fett. So
Steve correction count.
Doesn't need to be Steve correction count.
You know what, though? Here's the thing is, yeah, he doesn't want to count it. One of the things that's funny is Steve is super quick to correct me. He's super quick to correct Paul. He's super quick to correct Brett. But I think that's the first time we've ever seen him just fully challenge Eric's knowledge of a film thing.
That's true.
Well, here's the thing. I love it because I mean,
but
you
he
saw me.
is absolutely correct about that parade. Which
I don't tell him that. That's just going to embolden him.
Steve Delusions of grandeur count. No, but that's literally like you saw me go into my data bank and I thought, okay, holiday special. I had no idea that appearance even existed. So here you go. I
love that the holiday special was so bad that like it was just like in everybody's collective like repressed memory forever.
Well, and I can tell you what's funny is so when we talk about this stuff, Dominic Pace, right, played a bounty hunter in the early Mandalorian that was at the bar. Okay, that's what his character was, right? He was just cast as a bounty hunter at the bar. And he sat at the bar and he had turns and, you know, he's got some screen time. So Dominic, by the way, first off, incredible person, great dude. And he went on a rampage to name his character and forced Lucasfilm to come up with a name for his character because he pushed it with fans so hard that fans got behind it saying they needed it. So they came up with Gecko the Bounty Hunter, right? But he actually was an unnamed bounty hunter in the original credits of The Mandalorian. So this even happens now. This is not something, and Star Wars is known for this. And, you know, Stephen Costantino, who's going to be at the Unrivaled show, in April the 17th and 19th here in Vegas, he actually was friends with Billy D. Williams' son, was on the set because they were playing music. And Lucas comes by and says, what are you guys doing? If you're going to be here, do something. Go get in a costume. And they went and got in costumes. And it turns out the Billy D. Williams' son just happens to be, you know, Corey Williams just happens to be Klaatu, which is a character that actually had 2 action figures made by Kenner, one of them by accident, right? Because they thought they hadn't made the character already, but in fact, it was his character in a different like gear. Right?
Which is a mistake you can easily make on a Star Wars set.
Yes, and they did, and they made that character.
Because they reuse everything.
But Steven got put into Gamorrean guard suit, and he just happened to be in a Gamorrean guard suit. They said, hey, go stand up there, Luke. You're going to go at Luke like you're going to fight him, and they're going to chop you with a lightsaber, and you're going to die. Okay. And he went and did it, and made a career out of it.
Right.
Now, does he get royalties?
So
when they make the figures,
the thing is like in those situations, no. And in fact, what's funny is there was hardly anybody that got royalties from the original Star Wars. They took a paycheck,
right?
Except for.
Do you know it?
Go ahead.
This is why screen credits are so long now.
Yes.
It's because they couldn't pay all the actors that were in it. And so what they did is they expanded screen credits to where everybody got a screen credit because that helps your star rating on your next job to get more money and more pay.
Right.
Because it shows that you were involved with the film. Star Wars changed the way that we view movies and the way movies are advertised and the way actors ask for paychecks.
Steve, isn't the reason why no one got royalties is because Lucas got them all because he 100% kept all of the rights as a part of the deal to get his sequels made from 20th Century Fox.
And his thing is that no one wanted to buy in and believe that this space opera was going to actually sell.
Nobody.
Right? They didn't go behind it. And as crazy as it is, he finds this veteran stage actor in the UK that fits the perfect age and role that he's looking to do. And he tells him about it. And he says, look, I'm a stage actor. I do high-end Hamlet theatrical stuff. Yep. This is who I am. I don't need your money. But if you're right, let me take a piece. And Sir Alec Guinness was the only person that had action as an actor in it, that the estate is still making millions upon billions of dollars for owning a small piece of the Star Wars verse, all because he decided to come play the great one, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
In that little space opera where he was really even like admittedly rolling his eyes the whole time.
And I love that was intended as like a one-off like character because he dies, right? But then it's like, wait a second, we need to expand this character. We need to make this bigger. And so he's such a massive role that some of the stuff is almost contra contradicts some of the stuff that comes later,
Right.
because of the way he played it, because he was supposed to be this one-off character, and then it ended up being he's one of the major players in the universe, or the 6 planets they end up going to in the entire universe.
And that's another example of like what you guys were mentioning, how they have to constantly fill in the blanks. They now, as Steve said, they now have an ability to do that. Even if the stuff that they're making up about Obi-Wan now, and even his most recent series, George Lucas never even a million years thought of, since they have the rights, they can now like flesh out that character in their own way. It's like the way people pass around Batman or Spider-Man.
They'll take a side character from original trilogy that's in the background. Someone will notice it, and then all of a sudden they'll repurpose that into that. There's also been times too. There's so many like little Easter egg things when it comes to Star Wars. It's funny. Like E.T. is in Star Wars. E.T. is.
What's the name of the race? What's the name of the race in Star Wars?
I can't remember.
It's Spielberg backwards, because they were poking at each other and doing cameos with each other's characters in their movies. So the name of the race in Star Wars is Spielberg's name backwards.
Right. And and it's so funny because like you think of those things, they can go back and pull a character from the background of something and make that character canon.
Well, Darth Maul was supposed to be a one-off, but Ray Park did such a fantastic job, and the people that did the makeup and the wardrobe did such a fantastic job, that how many properties now are based off that? He's got a bunch of novels, he's got a bunch of comic books,
and a animated series coming out in a couple weeks.
Well, and he's in Clone Wars. Like there's
everything.
so many versions, because Ray Park killed it, and they made him look mean. They made him look awesome.
And they brought him back in Solo, and I mean you can continue to go down the
Ahsoka was a Dave Filoni created character that is now a part of the canon. Correction.
Here we go with the correction.
Who created Ahsoka?
This is important. Filoni didn't create her. George Lucas did.
Yep.
No, really. Enlighten me.
Basically, when they started thinking about doing the Clone Wars, the first thing he said to Filoni was, I made a mistake not giving Anakin a Padawan. What if we gave him a Padawan, and what if it was this particular species, and what if her name was Ahsoka? So he actually did.
Everyone gets a lower third today. It's great.
Eric
it's funny because
looking for a reason to pull out his impressions.
100%. Lucas is so
kind of admits to the fact that after he did the original Star Wars, he also was like, we should have made Leia a Jedi as well.
Right.
Because we should have had a female representative of it. So for years, had he not sold, it was believed that Mara Jade was actually going to be that female.
Yes.
That was going to be
wasn't Yaddle on the Jedi Council?
Yes.
In the
first one, even though she's never referenced as a character.
As part of the expanded universe, and particularly tied to Shadows of the Empire, right?
And the expanded universe was accepted as the de facto canon until 2014.
Except when it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Except when it's just random.
What is interesting about that, like because I mentioned a couple of weeks ago I got Excalibur on 4K, right? So I've been going down this Arthur Legend rabbit hole. And what's interesting is that in a time before copyrights and IP and all that stuff, this phenomenon occurred in the Arthur Legend too, which is you had those initial set of stories, they made their way to the European continent, and then a bunch of French authors de-emphasized Arthur and started adding all these knights to the story. And that's like kind of what happens in Star Wars now is you have that main set of stories.
The Skywalker saga.
Authors come in and add this stuff to the legend. It's like it's
what's fantastic.
Or it's like how people pick up. It's 100%. It's like what we talk about, how people pick up what Bob Kane and Bill Finger did with Batman, and now we have absolute Batman like almost 100 years later. What Stan Lee and Steve Ditko did with Spider-Man, what Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did with the Fantastic Four, X-Men, whoever it may be.
What I think
now we see these versions all these years later, and Kevin Feige, like he is so far removed from any of that, but it's still the same principal character.
What I think is unique to the Star Wars canon is that because the universe is so vast, because there's so many planets and things like that, that you're able to have all these different perspectives. And when you look at like real world events on one planet, World War I is looked at very differently in Japanese history than it is in American history. And so you can call on unreliable narrator, you can call on perspective, you can call on lots of different things. So all of them can be canon from different periods, from different perspectives, and from different unreliable narrators, because these things happened, and this is the recollection that that planet has, or that this race of creatures has, or whatever, within the bigger story, within the fabric of Star Wars.
Unreliable narrator is a great way to phrase it, because this is one thing I will say that Dave Filoni has gone on a record and said he likes multiple points of view in Star Wars because it's supposed to be a shared collection of fables, of tall tales. That's why Erik mentioning Arthurian legends is a great point of reference, because Star Wars is in many ways King Arthur in space. That's also why, as Tolkien fans, Tolkien wanted to create Lord of the Rings as a more solidified mythology that's kind of, more comprehensive than Arthur, because it tells one story thread and brings in a lot of backstory, where Arthur was a little more fractured. And that's why we got everything with Middle Earth, right?
Well,
so it's a source material for a lot of things later down the road. Yeah.
When you go and you pull from stuff too, it's also looking for, gaps in the system, right? Like what's missing or what it is. And I remember in 2019 being on the floor of Star Wars Celebration, and Jon Favreau, they're introducing The Mandalorian, right? The trailer is being released at this show, right?
Wow.
And he's walking the floor with some Disney executives, and they're walking the floor and having a conversation, and they stop at a big, hover around circle. And right then he's, really passionately talking about it. And he goes, what I loved about being involved with this production was they gave me a time period that there was no source material for. Right. So I could pull from different places, Boba Fett, right? I could bring them in and make them canon. I could give them reasons to be involved. I could do this. This was all being talked about by him before he had actually presented what he did.
Right.
And how he did that, and how he brought Boba Fett in, and how he got, different characters in. And then all of a sudden you got a little bit different side of the Empire, and you kind of get a downfall. And then the whole, concept of the ghost being, in why am I drawing a blank on the movie that
Rogue One?
Rogue One, right?
Yeah.
Where like the ghost got pulled in. It was from an animated series, and then we see that in live action.
The fleet.
And now they're canon in it, right? Like this has been going on for a long time. And I loved your Batman reference. I thought that was a really, really good example of how like this will happen in some other places, but it's not nearly as often, as impactful, and constantly called for as it is in the world of Star Wars. But speaking of Batman, when we come back after the break, we've got another absolute Batman to speak about and what Scott Snyder's been up to there. But we'll see that right after the break, right here on the C3 Pod.
Peppermint Patty's the worst. Comicon.com, your daily comic convention online. Insightful reviews, previews of the comics, toys, and games you need to know. Delightful chats with luminaries from around the geek spectrum. In print, on video, and everywhere in between. The show never stops on Comicon.com.
Want to welcome you back to the C3 Pod. We had a very, very fun G.I. Joe related conversation on the Patreon. Make sure you guys check that out. Check out our Patreon. Find some of the behind the scenes stuff, especially when we actually say nice things about Brendan. That's where that happens. Not here, but there. No, here. But I would like to take a minute and just remind people that if you're going to be in Vegas the next few weeks, we know a bunch of you guys will be coming to town for the big wrestling event as WrestleMania will be happening in Las Vegas. You need to stop by the Nerd Bar. Nerd Bar located on the second floor of Neonopolis upstairs. Expect a full programming from them of wrestling. Should be a lot of fun, probably a bunch of appearances, a lot of wrestling events, micro wrestling, and a whole lot more. So make sure you guys stop by. Fremont Street Experience, second floor of the Neonopolis, right upstairs from Johnny's Toy Shack. You will find the Nerd Bar. Make sure you guys visit there.
I want to offer up an exclusive opportunity for some folks who are coming into town for WrestleMania. If you want to see WrestleMania with us and you have 3 extra tickets to WrestleMania, we will be happy to accompany you and give you expert commentary throughout the entire show.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Which, by the way, real quick, if we can just unpack a piece of laundry that I'm not a big fan of, right? What is this whole? I have a restraining order against Seth Rollins in a market that we weren't even in when I would have filed the restraining order to be a storyline to then have Rollins break.
That's called kayfabe is not quite dead. It's still on CPR.
Yeah. Is it a real thing and can't be because there's no time to have actually executed it. I'm just really curious as to how.
Well, didn't they shoot mugshots before when he's in the back doing this, and they've got a piece of cardboard in the back? They've been doing that for years. It's a wrestling trope.
It's called working yourself into a shoot, but not really because it still doesn't work. Yeah,
it didn't work. It was.
What though? I love that Paul Heyman, to sell the fact that he's been awake for 3 days when he comes out and he's all baggy-eyed and all that stuff. The way that he commits to his roles, I would bet he actually stayed up for 3 days or stayed up at least the night before to have that haggard, terrible look and would not let makeup touch him before he came.
There's a good chance. I mean, as far as that goes, look, I'm not saying he's not good. I'm not saying that Seth Rollins wasn't good, right? Seth's walk off and then, the get pissed off turn and run, like that was
as soon as they go into the timekeeper area, he's going back around to the entrance.
Of course.
As soon as they take that exit instead of straight up the ramp, that's what's going to happen.
But they did twist it on you because you thought he was going over the rail, and he didn't go over the rail, right?
I like that Paul Heyman had to act for like 20 straight minutes, like he didn't see this guy who's right on his left jumping up on a table and taking the hood off and everything. He's like, well, where's Seth Rollins? Whatever. And he's right. He's literally like in the peripheral right there, moving around a bunch. Like you definitely would have seen that.
It's funny, but I just, some of the storyline is like, there's this grasp,
I think maybe just don't pull too hard at that thread.
I'll tell you what they need to do is they need to give more time to Femi because people love that dude.
Yeah. But if they over
I know,
him,
but
they got to let it happen organically, but he's got a hell of a following already.
He is so good at what he's doing.
That's why Lesnar's the guy that they have him, slated for Mania. Right now what he's doing, it's the perfect person to have him against.
First of all, Lesnar putting him over is fantastic because Lesnar is not known to put over younger talent. But second, Oba Femi is actually in an interesting pocket that has not worked for a lot of people in the past. What they did with Saba Simba and with the Ugandan giant Kamala, where they overplayed the African heritage and stuff to the point where it was a parody or it was insulting to the culture. Obafemi is from Africa, or he's built from Africa. I hope he's from Africa for the character he's playing. But it's just enough of the dance. It's just enough of the feathers or whatever it is on his arms or whatever to be a tribute without being offensive. Because when they have somebody...
he still stays modern, and I think that really plays well, right? And what you're talking about, that's kind of, the thing. And look, the other thing I'm going to mention really quick, the Danhausen bit is already old. Already old.
I love Danhausen. Well,
it has an expiration date.
Well, they're overplaying it. Like I just said, the thing is, if he came out once a month or once every couple of weeks, or he was a presence and he did the curse thing occasionally instead of every single time, it would play better for the WWE audience. But when he's used to playing the independents or whatever, where like you're seeing a different audience every time because you're in a different city every time it's not on television, but they are overplaying it a little bit. But he is genuinely funny. It's just too much of his bit.
That's the thing. That's why I didn't say the bit wasn't good. I'm just saying it's too much, right? It's just too much of it.
But like there's interviews with Danielle Fishel well before Danhausen was even known on the independent circuit, where she's in the Danhausen makeup and she's talking about her favorite professional wrestler. They're like, what are you talking about, dude? She's got the whole Danhausen face on. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. I mean, that was really fun. And
Kanga's really a real one.
So, we're getting into this segment. We're going to be talking about some new comics that are coming out this week. DC has quite the introduction and load in to it, but I guess we'll let Brendan take it away. And
DC's been pretty heavy the last couple of weeks, and you missed it. And we talked about it. Like you always talk about the Marvel #1s, and DC has been hitting heavy the last couple of weeks. But let's start with our first one.
Lower third.
It's Absolute Absolute Superman #18. This is the introduction of King Shazam in the Absolute Universe. The Battle of Kansas may have put the Lazarus Corporation into retreat, but it's left behind some terrifying surprises in its hidden caches of weapons and world-ending secrets. The most dangerous of all is the sarcophagus of the legendary King Shazam. Don't miss the start of a new epic that will change the hierarchy of power in the Absolute Universe. I love, again, that this is the start of a new arc. And right there on the cover, for the folks who are totally lost on where to get started, it tells you new story starts here, and publishers don't do this often enough. So I'm going to give praise every single time I see this because it's intimidating going in. Superman's got thousands and thousands of titles and issues and whatever. And just to know that even though this one's numbered number 18, it's the start of a new story, makes it way more accessible to casual fans.
So I agree with Brennan's assessment right there. But Erik, can you explain to me how in at least, the broadcasting industry, before we go to break and we, promote something that's supposed to come up, we call it a tease. Can you please explain to me, Erik, how Steve and Brendan completely just backed down from that great tease they had before we came back?
Because I didn't write it, I didn't want to say it, but I did want to nod to the fact that he was wrong and said we were going to ask with Batman.
Well, true. I mean, you did actually kind of go tongue in cheek. You did kind of wink, point to it, or allude to it. But what the heck, guys? I mean, that was supposed to be like the big. I understand we had to get in a little professional wrestling. I'm all for that, right? But come on, y'all.
I don't like it when it's forced. It has to be natural.
That's fair. That's fair. And if you don't want to pick it back up, that's fair. But it's I have to, as a panelist and a co-host in the show, I do have to point it out.
In sports, the example you're giving right now and the way that you're doing this, I just want to point this out. This would kind of be like watching the guy go 0 for 40, right? Goes 0 for 40. Then goes on a tear, and all of a sudden he's like 8 for his next 15. And while he's at bat, 16th plate appearance, being 8 for 15, you bring up the fact that he was 0 for 40. Like, the guy's at the pinnacle of his season right now, and there's no reason to reference where he failed, except for it felt good for you.
But it was 2 games ago.
That is what you just did. Which what I want to say is that you're $2 late short. I think that's what that's called.
In baseball, we call this passive aggression.
And this is on this podcast. Let's be real. We call it passive aggression, but absolutely not. See, because if the timing was in the first segment or the first Patreon, you'd be right. You literally teed it up for us to go into this segment, and it was left open-ended. So if I were to be a commentator in that situation, I'm doing my duty to shed light on that because you did not fit, to quote Cody Rhodes, finish the story, sir.
Brett, and this is something that actually came up at Diecast SuperCon is when we're talking about the differences between sports broadcasting and pop 100%. Culture, panels and stuff. There's a massive difference. And so 100%. You're witnessing that and growing.
Yes. 100%. And it's so funny. I literally have thought about that too. I'm like, it's so perfect because Brett and I literally come from the complete opposite worlds. And because of that, the conversational elements are different, right? He does it more like a stage host. I do it more like a talk show host. But at the same time, there's no way I could let that go because let's be real, you and Steve don't let it go. So I can't let it go either. I have to,
Oh, so now you're a lemming. And if we jump off the cliff, you're going with us. I get it. Totally.
Dude, duh. That's what this
you are, Anchorman for sure. Give him a teleprompter. He will read exactly what's on there.
Absolutely.
That's fine.
Talking about this book, I think this is a great cover. But my question to you is, why are we finding Shazam the Rocks?
Because here's an important thing. It's right there in the solicit. The phrase, the hierarchy of power, belonged to Dwayne Johnson.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So
Black Adam.
We're going to find out that this King Shazam character is actually absolute Black Adam. You don't just use the phrase hierarchy of power unless you're referring to Black Adam.
Yeah, and that's interesting.
Well, dude, why didn't you tell me that earlier? That's awesome.
Yeah. No, because that changes the complexity of what this story arc could be. Because this is going to be a lot more fighting and a lot less conversation about joining sides. Right. And I think that's important because, look, there's not many good Superman fights. I'll wait. You tell me, right?
There's not. Which one is it where he fights the other?
Let's see. Dark Knight Returns.
Where he fights the other Supermen, the ones in the black suits, and imprisons them in crystals kicks them off into space. Which one's that? Because those were good Superman fights.
Against Zod, right?
That's two. That's two. That's two.
There we go.
Yeah.
Even at that, the fight against Zod wasn't good.
Well, I mean, what's the main complaint about? If there was one complaint about, or
what's the one where he got his ass beat and the dog had to save him in the last one?
That's what I'm bringing up.
Where he was fighting himself. Yeah.
There's a point of validity in the fact that Superman got his ass kicked a lot in the James Gunn movie. If there was one beef you had with it, I wouldn't complain about that being a beef because he did get his ass kicked a lot.
But what I'm saying,
even though I thought it was a great movie,
been a lot of really good Superman fights. Whereas I can turn to Marvel and go Deadpool, and as soon as I say Deadpool, and he's not even the biggest character in all of Marvel, you can come up with like 5 incredibly good fights.
The opening credit sequence where he's using the adamantium bones as weapons, in that one, dude, that was I liked that a lot.
But that's,
well, you know,
that's what I'm talking about, is that there's not a lot of times where the story arc has Superman fighting a formidable opponent outside of the death of Superman. Right.
You know, what's funny is I just mentioned like 5 movies by scenes that were in the movies that I have no idea what the titles of, and you guys immediately knew what I was talking about.
Well, we're nerds. That's that's what we do.
Yeah.
But Steve, you just mentioned the death of Superman. You could look at the death of Superman in Batman versus Superman, right, against Doomsday. You could look at his fight against Batman, which is very much a play on what Erik was referring to with the Dark Knight Returns. It was basically not a ripoff, but kind of inspired by that.
Yeah, it was kind of a ripoff.
In many ways,
Tribute.
It's a loose tribute. That's the best way to to say it. By loose, it means like on the money, on the nose. And then of course the best scene in the entire movie, action wise, the warehouse scene where Batman's just beating up Lex Luthor's goons. So when you look at the whole movie, even the best fight scenes are still usually even Batman shooting Doomsday with the kryptonite shotgun. Like the best scenes still involve Batman, and it's Zack Snyder, who clearly really had a Batman thing going. But at the same time, it's kind of what Steve said. Like, you don't think Superman is kicking ass because he's so powerful and juiced up anyway. There has to be a drawback, and the drawback is he never really looks cool fighting.
Speaking of villains that can take Superman on toe for toe, next title up is Bizarro Year None #1, and this one's got an origin story for Bizarro. And it's written, you know how Bizarro talks funny? Like, I don't know if I can even get through this. This am how Bizarro got finished.
Bizarro.
What?
He am not Bizarro.
Okay, but this am how Bizarro got finished. Kevin Smith and Eric Carrasco team up with visionary artist Nick Pitara to tell the indefinitive origin of the beloved backward bad boy when Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen and Clark Kent's boss Perry White leave the planet for a strange adventure in outer space. They discover a dimension that mimics Metropolis and reveres its legendary newspaper as an article of faith, but is being behind it all a Superman fan, a creature of chaos, or is he none at all? Don't Be a Square by Bizarro Year None.
Oh, wait. By Bizarro rules, they're telling us not to buy it.
Yes.
Yeah.
By Bizarro rules, don't buy this. So
steal it.
I think you should have read the Daredevil blurb instead.
That's
when I sent out the ROS. I did the ROS yesterday at about like I think it was like 27 minutes because there was so much going on. My kid's back at jiu-jitsu and stuff, and like I was like, damn, I got to get this out. And so I had accidentally mixed up some of the blurbs. So the blurb that was put out for this one was for the next that comes after. We have a variant on this too. This is an open order variant by Dan Mora. This one's called the Totally Normal Al Yankovic cameo variant, and it's got Bizarro on there and backwards Batman. What do they call him?
Bat Zorro
with the upside down whatever. But Weird Al just sitting there in the middle for no reason, and I thought that was awesome. Weird Al.
What does it say on the briefcase?
What does it say? I've got here. Let's see.
Because I think that matters.
Totally normal things.
Is that what it says?
Mm-hmm.
How can you read that?
Say totally normal things.
Because I have not even like joking or trying to pat myself on the back. I do have exceptionally good vision.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Not saying it's going to continue. I'm just saying
If you notice, he used that he has good vision and not foreshadowing. So totally different. I get it.
Exactly. Not foresight, just vision. Right.
Brett's on his way to double digits, by the way. I just want to point that out real quick. In my opinion, one of the best 2-packs of action figures ever was Bizarro vs. Faker 2-pack from Mattel. That was done so well because, they always try to force narratives. Like even He-Man versus Superman feels a little forced, right? I get it. It made sense, right? But to have Bizarro versus Faker, 2 guys that literally would stand there, look at each other and be like, I shouldn't be here, right? Like that's, it's pretty funny. I always liked that figure. It's actually one of the more valuable, from that series that Mattel was doing at the time of the DC Versus stuff. Pretty funny. Very, very good character set. But Bizarro is always fun. The thing is, nothing serious ever comes out of the Bizarro side of the comics. I know it's not supposed to, but at some point you would think they would spawn some type of crazy monster that, because Bizarro screwed something up, became everyone else's problem.
Mm-hmm. But wouldn't it be, if there was a monster in the Bizarro universe, wouldn't that be a hero here?
Yeah, maybe it is.
So if there's some kind of like
maybe
interdimensional crap that happened,
should be involved in this or something. You know what I mean? Like,
I just want to watch. I just want to watch Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, next one up is Daredevil #1. This is the first appearance of Omen, a future-seeing villain. This am how Bizarro got finished. Kevin Smith and Eric. No, you can bury the bodies, but never the ghosts. Hell's Kitchen is full of secrets, but no secret stays buried for long. As a fearsome new supervillain named Omen has targeted Matt Murdock, it will be his alter ego Daredevil who takes the hits. But beware, this mysterious new player isn't all that they appear. A secret Daredevil will have to learn quickly as he scrambles to settle into a life and status quo we've never seen him in before. And they did all caps for that, so you know they're serious. Look alive, Marvelites. An all-new and unprecedented era of Daredevil starts right here.
Matt Murdock making Marvel great again.
There you go, Eric.
Shouldn't
really
that
what it is.
suit be blood red and not rose red?
I mean, it can change. You know, we got a little global warming going on. Maybe the temperature of the sun's just a little different.
It's too light for the character because Daredevil's a very dark character. The blood crimson of his
he's doing so much work, it's faded.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen him at this color way before.
And also, if he's really in Hell's Kitchen, he would have black scuff marks all over those tights because everything you rub against in Hell's Kitchen makes your clothes black.
That's
well, I mean, if that's the case, so we're going to be nitpicking a lot of Daredevil titles because Frank Miller never, even did any of that. And he's like the definitive look, but it's technically true. And that's one thing that the television
if you're
series
shiny,
does well.
You're not hiding from all those little sparkly like street lights and stuff. So
that's
the shiny 2-light suit with no black scuff marks, I'm not buying it.
The television show probably gives us the best version of a Daredevil suit you could possibly have and not look corny. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Ben Affleck one for the time with the way superhero movies were doing suits kind of worked.
But why in the Ben Affleck movie were you looking at Ben Affleck and not Elektra?
Because with Elektra, I'm not analyzing the suit, brother. Because anyway, that was I don't have to elaborate. But no, Steve, in 2003, if you look at the X-Men movies and X2 and the first X-Men movie, they look basically the same type of thing for a mutant as Daredevil's suit does for him. It's like that's just how the suits look back then. It doesn't look good now. But it looks fine.
I can't say any of those suits looked good when your basis for comparison is the '89 Batman. Well,
that's fair. That's fair
because that one set the standard, and then everyone went downhill.
That's still the best looking. I will say this: Keaton. Say what you want about how Keaton is the Batman. To this day, I think Keaton, regardless of if you think he's the best, how he is as a Bruce Wayne, how he is as a Batman, whatever. He looked the best in the suit of any Batman ever.
By the way, I have to tell you this really quick because
we posted this. Looked the best.
We both posted this yesterday. So Bat in the Sun Studios has a license for Batman to make a short form film. Jason Font is playing that Batman. It has been filmed, and there is now some snippets out. And we actually talked with Jason yesterday. There is a opportunity that we may have to actually release a trailer of that at the Unrivaled show, which will be really cool because the behind the scenes stuff, Jason Font pulled it off, man.
Oh, he's wearing the '89
pulled
suit.
a good Batman off.
Can we go rapid fire? Before we move to the next cover? Who is the best Batman suit? Because I'm not saying he's the best Batman, but
do best three. Do best three, not best five.
So I'd say Keaton. Well, that was just going to go number one to be rapid fire. But I'll go Keaton. I'll go Dark Knight, the second one, not the Batman Begins suit, but the Dark Knight suit, the Nolan suit. And then
are we talking about the suits, or are we talking about the actors in their full body of work?
Just suits, just the aesthetic, just the aesthetic. So we could just even do the one. I'm going Keaton as far as the number one suit look in the aesthetic. I think the yellow,
the Keaton suit.
Yellow logo.
The Keaton suit changed everything, but I will say this: the McFarlane Batman. I know that's not movie, but the McFarlane Batman changed Batman altogether.
I'm going to give a dishonorable mention to the nipple suit that Val Kilmer wore.
Joel Schumacher. Eric, who do you got? Because I know you were thinking. I saw you chewing it over.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm going to do this as three, and it is in descending order. So, 89.
Okay.
The Dark Knight, and get ready for this. The Batman.
The Batman would be.
The Batman was a good one.
The Batman because it looks like as if someone was just randomly assembling a suit who may be rich, but doesn't have like the Lucius Fox type resources, which is what the Batman does well. The Batman makes it look like he's doing all the gadget work, where the Nolan series he basically has his own version of Q and Lucius Fox, and he's able to give him all that stuff.
I also like the detail that the Bat logo on the Batman suit is the gun that Joe Chill used to kill his parents. Like, I really like that too.
The 1995 Sonar suit from Batman Forever is number 3.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah.
Justice League tactical suit is 2. 89 Bat number 1.
Okay.
You know what I like there? Because I do like it. There's one thing is the cod pieces, the nipples were weird, obviously. But the one thing that we got in the Schumacher films is variety. Each scene, he's like in a different suit. So is Robin, especially
That's why I
Batman
specified the Sonar suit.
And that's why I like that you did, because to be fair, they're at least after watching those 2 movies, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, you think, wow, they had a lot of suits collectively.
But Schumacher will even tell you that was like his marching orders. He was told, highlight the toys.
Right.
And if I had a fourth, it would be the Batman versus Superman Batflex suit, because I feel like that one fits into the absolute universe.
Because it's also very much Dark Knight Returns, and oddly enough, Affleck looks really good.
But like the texture on the suit almost looks like stars,
Batman.
And that kind of is an outward an outward visualization of what his body would look like after taking so many lumps and bumps.
100%. Old man Batman.
I'm surprised none of you guys went with Twilight Batman. Anyways, what's our next book?
I don't know where we at on this shit.
Venom. We're at Venom.
Oh, Venom 256. So this one is, you remember we were talking about how the symbiote arc Death Spiral is bouncing around. This is part 6, so it's in Venom this week. The serial killer Torment is following the path of Death Spiral and is led straight to Dylan Brock. Now the son of Venom is alone, injured, and on the run, and Venom's other child may be his only hope. But will Carnage choose to help Dylan or kill him all over again, because someone's got to die?
That's Carnage's play. I would have liked this cover to have an Easter egg of Carnage somewhere in the distance. Like having a little bit of an understanding of what's happening and almost like kind of making a last minute decision on whether he's going to help or not. But this is cool. I really like Torment's suit. I actually think Torment as a character is a strong villain. Probably one of the better, Spider-Man villains over the last, 10 years that have come out.
Speaking of suit, flip to the variant while he's talking.
Yeah. And then obviously Anti-Venom, which I would say Anti-Venom's probably the one, previous to that. But, I think that Torment is a really, really strong villain character. I like how he's always bigger than everyone else, right? So he's not got that small Spider-Man stature. He always is just a much bigger. Here he is holding by the throat, and I know it's a kid, but he's on one knee, right? Indicating like the kid, based on backpack and stuff, probably has to be 4.5.
I think he's stepping up to a ledge. Like there's a 2-foot ledge, and his bottom leg that looks like it's a knee is actually extending down below that. Yeah.
But even at that, where his knee is at right there, to like, you're talking that's another 1.5 foot. You know what I mean? So like, it's pretty impressive. I think they've done a nice job with how they've presented this character, give him that look of power. It's a cool cover. I would much rather that was another, I would much rather that was Carnage being grabbed by the throat, but I also understand the story arc. So
Sure. And then this one is a 1 in 50 incentive variant by David Nakayama, and they call this the color block white version.
Negative space covers will always sell.
Cool.
It's a good cover.
All right, next up we have Wonder Man number 1. This is going to be a first appearance of Randolph Chancellor, the former cellmate of Wonder Man. Lights, camera, superhero action. Simon Williams has had his ups and downs, from being manipulated into villainy by the Enchantress to being one of the brightest stars in the Avengers. But just like Hollywood, no matter how high, how low the lows, Simon keeps fighting the good fight. But what happens when the past finally catches up to him? Enter Randolph Chancellor, Simon's former cellmate. This one's got Jerry Duggan on it, and he's a favorite author of mine. So I don't know much about Wonder Man, but I know what Duggan does with dark, gritty stuff. So hopefully this has got some of those elements of noir in it. I have no idea, though, because I have never touched this property.
And Bucky's doing the art. Oh, my God. Mark Bucky. That's great.
The thing that I think, I like the cover, and I just hope that they can pull off Wonder Man, and that's really what they're trying to do with the whole, series. Wonder Man is interesting because he literally is just a byproduct of what Superman's not, right? And it's kind of that thing where it's almost like, hey, let's give the same result to a troublemaker, right? Is kind of the thing. I think it gets a little far-fetched when they start going, they start getting storylines so deep of like bringing up Hollywood and all this stuff, and then his past and everything, when really it's like, let's see him, match up with some adversaries before you give me the background. Right.
Well, a lot of the appeal about Wonder Man is literally that he was kind of like Hercules. He's kind of just plucked up and dropped in the Avengers lineup in comics of the past. And you don't need a lot of backstory because with his power set, you want to see him function with the team and cooperate with the other Avengers. And like you just said, Steve, fight a villain. We don't necessarily need a lot of elaboration beforehand.
It's also a number one though, and it's a little known. I mean, this is not one of the major players, and so I understand that they want to like give it some build up. Because I mean, seriously, give me 5 facts about Wonder Man, and anybody who's not on this panel is not going to be able to.
Right, and
this thing here is it's purely built as a marketing lead up to the cinematic stuff. So, like, this is your marketing solicit. I don't know that we're ready just to take on this, oh, he's human storyline. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know that we are. But again, we'll see where it goes. It's an interesting one. Look, this next one in our childhoods and growing up and everything. If this wasn't, and I understand, Paul, you wouldn't have known this because being a kid of the 90s, you'd have been a little too young for it. But the next one, I love when they do this, and that's Mad About DC #1.
Now Mad Magazine has had a little bit of a rocky couple of years here, where they were on a big comeback tour, and then it looked like they were declaring bankruptcy, and now they're back open again. I think Marvel picked them up. So of course, Marvel is going to do crossovers with anything that they own. But this one's got Sergio Aragonis in it, which is he's a Mad Magazine original, and it's a mad look at comic book stores, and they're going to be spoofing a bunch of the DC heroes. Did I say Marvel? Jesus Christ.
DC.
No, it's all right.
We all knew, but we were also waiting for the moment to be like,
it's funny.
Can that count?
For the record, can you give him another correction? Because he corrected himself.
He corrected himself. Yeah. Love it.
I was like partway into it, and I was like, wait a second. Anyway. So anyway, it's got Sergio Aragonis in it. A mad look at comic book stores. They're spoofing a bunch of DC stuff in it, but the creators on this are also Jim Zub, Ramon Perez, Charles Soule, Ryan Brown. Charles Soule, he still owes me an interview. I'm still mad at that guy, but they're doing a DC fold-in. Al Jaffe was the one that did a bunch of the fold-ins or whatever. So they're doing a bunch of classic Mad Magazine stuff with DC properties, and I think it's cool. It's fun. It's very nostalgic for people my age. It's got the new 52 label on it there, which they're going to be spoofing DC's failed attempt at rebooting their entire universe, of course, because Mad Magazine, there's no pulled punches. But this one could be fun, just as a one-shot, one-off.
I want to pull two absolutely great things from this cover. At the very top, it says DC Comics proudly, right? Presents a very special issue. And then at the bottom, the footer has of comic creators trying to lose their jobs, which I think is just very, that's very witty, very fun right there. But I think the thing to point out is DC is taking shots at one of their biggest in-house successes that really ended up being one of their stronger failures, and that is the button on his jacket, the new 52. So they're taking direct shots at the new 52, which means a couple of these guys that are drawing this are making fun of Jim Lee.
Not so much Jim. Well, okay, yeah, because Jim Lee was the major,
right? But he was big on the creative of it, right? So
Erik Counterpunch, baby.
But I mean, the chief architect of the new 52 was Dan DiDio, and really, if you're making a joke about that era, it's really more directed at him than it is the guy who's still in the company. So I mean, there you go.
But
I think we need to get those paper masks on sticks. We need to get a paper mask made of every impression that Erik does on a stick, so he can just grab it and stick it up when he's doing that.
Yep.
I think we need a Patreon where we have Erik doing impressions and then clips of interviews of people talking.
Right.
I think we need to pay for.
I think we need a reel of Erik doing impressions of creators to their faces.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do you know
Absolutely.
how viral that would go? You're onto something there.
All right.
That's fantastic.
Next one up is in the Alien universe with Alien King Killer #1. Saladin Ahmed and Carlos Nieto is working on this one. It's got when humanity has already lost the war against the xenomorphs, what remains? Set on a planet overrun by the savage alien species, the dregs of humanity cling to the protection of the mysterious siblings known as the Three Kings. But these warlords have a fourth sibling who is out for revenge. And the humans' remaining protectors are harboring secrets deadlier than the aliens outside their gates. The first chapter in one of these, dude, this is Fallout with aliens.
Okay.
I mean, if you can't beat them, join them, right?
Right.
This is Fallout with, where's the lie? This is Fallout with aliens. It's got xenomorphs thrown into the Fallout universe.
Maybe that's a crossover
probably what
coming down the road.
They may have even had that in mind.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, because now I'm admittedly behind on the Fallout, whatever wave, but I'm like eight episodes into the first season, and the big reveal just happened, and I'm reading about that now in the Solicit for Alien.
One thing I love about this cover, it's kind of like what we talked about last week, with the Jack the Ripper, Victorian, London style of feel, just of tone, where you almost like feel it and hear it. It's more than just see it, right? You get that with this because obviously with the xenomorphs, you hear as much as you see whenever you see a picture. At least once you see those movies, you could hear every time you see them, even if it's just like a still image. So with this, you could hear how traumatic and awful that would be and horrific that would be, in addition to the artwork being pretty dramatic as well.
But this cover is almost comedic because they backlit it instead of frontlighting it, because it looks like a comedy scene with somebody reaching up or whatever, and it's supposed to be very dramatic, but that hand looks funny because it's got a backlight instead of a front light.
The hero emerging from the pile,
Right.
and no, you're just getting torn to shreds, bro. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sitting here and then we're talking about the crossover and Fallout and all this stuff and everything, and I'm thinking that they based the character that's apparently being attacked by the aliens right now as Roddy Piper's in They Live. Like the hand,
he's all out of. All
is that
out of
not
bubble gum.
right? You know what I'm
All
saying?
out of bubble gum.
Like that's what it makes me think.
I love
What's that line? You look normal. You look
Yeah.
normal, but this one looks like she fell on the cheese dip. What is it?
Exactly.
I absolutely love the fact that in two completely different parts of the podcast today, Roddy Piper got some love. I mean, we could do it like every 2 minutes of every episode ever. I'd be okay with that. But I just got to say that. I mean, all love to one of the greatest ever do it.
It is a good cover though. Lots of line work in this cover. I mean, let's talk about that. That's that's a lot of detail put in there. It's done very well. The hand is not grossly shaped. It does have, some wonky fingers, which is actually good because it kind of gives you the understanding that person's been through a little bit,
Mangled.
Now, wait. You look like your head fell in the cheese dip back in 1957. You see, I take these glasses off. She looks like a regular person, doesn't she? Put them back on. Formaldehyde face.
Legend.
So funny. Number 10 is Eternals 50th anniversary #1.
Celebrate 50 years of Jack Kirby's cosmic vision. The Eternals return in an oversized anniversary special honoring the legendary creations of the King of Comics. Discover untold stories of the Earth's immortal protectors, explore their hidden history, and witness the debut of a brand new Eternal. One whose secrets could shake the foundations of the Marvel Universe, featuring Captain America, Icarus, the Reject, and introducing the Lost Eternal. This milestone issue is a must-have for Kirby fans and Marvel collectors alike.
The Lost Eternal is Chloe Zhao, right?
They don't say.
See, no. Brent got the joke though.
Yeah.
No, but I'm looking,
Eternal
and they don't
again.
say who the Lost Eternal is. They want you to buy the comic to find out.
The
Send
Eternal
Paul
setup
Comics.
again is, I believe that you're going to have some reference and or introduction in the upcoming Doomsday to the gods of the Eternals. I think there's going to be, because that makes a lot of sense for them to then bring in, and you have Guardians on their way out, right? So Guardians going on their way out also should, like in reality, you can only hope that this Guardians pulls Adam Warlock back in. Right.
You know what's so funny? Speaking of the Guardians, it's kind of funny because when you look at the Eternals, that was like a much bigger title when Kirby first released those than whenever the original like 1969 or whatever Guardians team was first like released. I'm not talking about the 2018. I'm talking like the old one. And like Marvel has done a better job of picking the Guardians up and shaping them how they need to based off the more modern comics. Where Eternals, they just don't have a clear-cut plan for, and that's why it's interesting you said that, Steve, because at least they haven't alluded to it since the movie. Like
I think there's a left in the dark for that, and the showcase is that when you don't have as much information about a character or a group, it's easier to put them in situations, moments, and against adversaries. When you have so much story written about a group like the Eternals, and all of the things they've gone through, it's hard because now you're pulling from source material and you don't have a lot of room to buffer to make things up as you go, right? It makes it, when you're making that cinematic film, just much tougher, right?
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why it's so important that when you're playing with the toys in the toy box that you don't put them back broken, because you've got these characters that you can pull in for stuff, and if you mess up too much of their canon, it's not usable for one of the other creators to come in and use them in those stop gaps.
And plus, with the cosmic element, right, they've already done, at least on the film side, they've already done so many things well with that. Now they're moving to the more multiversal thing. So it's like maybe the Eternals just doesn't have a place directly, but when they pick them back up, it'll be seamless. I hope that's the case, but I also kind of hope it's not something, because, Erik, you had a thought. Like, it also seems like where they have a plan in their back pocket, it seems like it's like, all right, 2021 was long enough ago to where they've forgotten about him. Even with Harry Styles' cameo, we could kind of just slip it under the rug and pretend it does never happen. Like, what do you think? What do you think is what they're going to do?
I think every kind of half step or black eye that Marvel Studios experienced in the last 7 years,
right? Or at least 5, 6. Yeah.
Secret Invasion happen in a different universe. Eternals happen in a different universe.
Retcon.
And then they can come back and try Eternals again, which, I don't hate that movie. It's just kind of weird that they chose that style, or that Chloe Zhao chose that style for these really colorful, out there characters.
Yeah.
To bring them so down to the ground and so kind of sad and depressed and colorless. Like, that's a weird choice.
It's almost as crazy as it sounds like, because Taika Waititi, say what you want about him, but the visual components of what he does almost would be better for the Eternals. Yeah. Not saying the storyline or the screenplay would be, but the visual element would be.
Yeah,
I would. 100% would have been
better
more
at recreating the Kirby style.
Yeah, the cosmic element. Yep.
And I think that if you're casting a director, you're probably pretty spot on to that. And I think I just think that there's going to be some type of reference or pull to it, because they're going to try to pull in
as many as possible.
Next, kind of iteration of how they're going to approach that. And because they've already stripped some storyline away that could have been, it is one of those areas that could be. And if you just look at how it's funny, but like if you just watch how Marvel will push out books at certain times and how they distribute now, they really distribute you the storyline in advance if you pay attention, right? So maybe not. I don't know if 50th anniversary is where you're going to get some reference to it, a timeline jump, something along those lines, whatever it might be, but could be. Internals is interesting. So I know, look, we've been on here the entire time and stuff like that, but we really haven't given Paul his opportunity to speak about things. So, Paul, we want to give you a couple of minutes to be able to kind of tell people what you've been up to.
Where the hell has Paul not been here? When did he leave?
Wait,
Paul, you've been sitting here the whole show and now you want to disappear? What the hell, man?
Who the F is Paul?
Why would you guys tell me to? Really, seriously, this guy is.
When did he leave?
He never left. He's here. Paul, stop with this.
Oh my God!
Stop with the charade here.
You can't shut this guy up 9 days out of 10.
Right, Paul.
Oh my gosh! Seriously, can someone get Paul on the phone and find out what's going on?